We are live. Welcome to my completely spoiler-free review of Paradox, a Rusty Lake film, or simply Paradox. This was made in 2018, and let's see, let's see. So no spoilers. It is rated. No, never mind. There is no rating for it. I would probably say overall an R rating. I think there's just enough to earn it an R rating. Though I appreciate some might say it's only PG-13. And I absolutely love this. So, I think I will start with, so Detective Dale Vandermeer wakes up in a small room and has to find his way out of there. That might sound familiar to you. So basically, I think I will start by saying, so I don't know exactly when it was that the Rusty Lake development team thought about making an actual short film for the franchise, but I'm really glad they did. At some point they realized, hey, this would work incredibly well in that medium. Like, there's a lot of video games where, I love the game, I don't necessarily want movie or even short film. I have heard really good things. That is something I definitely want to acknowledge. I haven't really watched them myself yet. I might at some point, although so far they haven't really touched franchises that I'm super big fan of. Mostly they've done ones that I haven't even played. But I've heard really good things about some of the shows that adapt video games in recent years. I have not yet watched an official video game movie adaptation that I thought was just, like, good. There are two really, really solid, although in some ways, they didn't age well, some of the comedy. And I'll acknowledge certain aspects, like the acting wasn't always the best, or, some of the effects looked not amazing even at the time, but there's a lot to love about both of the Press Start movies and also the Press Start series, the animated show. But yeah, the movies don't tend to do well. I do think it makes sense that this in part works because it's a short. I don't think this would have worked as well if it was feature length. If they make, like, a show out of Rusty Lake franchise, I will watch it. I think I will briefly note. So if you... as per usual for my Rusty Lake videos, other than the very first one, for obvious reasons, this video will build on other videos I've done on the Rusty Lake franchise. I'll briefly note, so you can get this for free on Steam. Right now it's not playing for me. It hasn't, I've only tried playing it like twice and just now, but for some, whatever. Didn't work for me. It is on YouTube as well, for free, on the official Rusty Lake channel. It's not even like unlisted or anything. So if you watch it on YouTube, I'm just saying, nobody's breaking any bylaws. And it's pretty popular, 7.6 million views. I think that does pretty well bring us to, I mentioned earlier that this might sound, the plot here might sound familiar. For those not in the know, this is what's the word? This is a companion piece to Cube Escape Paradox, which is why the short film is called Paradox. And let's see, it was something, my wrists are too bad to check right now, but I saw someone say that they felt you should watch it after playing the first chapter of that, but it's fine to watch before watching the second chapter of that. And if you're playing these in release order, that's also something I saw someone say. Make sure you've played at least some of the first 9 cubes. You'll know when you've. I mean, you might as well just play all 9 of the Cube Escape collection entries. But if you buy the Cube Escape collection, there are 9 games in there, technically. Anyway, yes, that is a really good way to do this. I would argue that this could technically be the very first, like every other that I've played so far. The most recent I played was Cube Escape Collection. So we're up to 2020, and they started making these in 2015. So I played most of the ones that are out when I record this video. Every single entry in this franchise so far, up to including Cube Escape Collection, can be your first exposure to this franchise. And I freaking love that. This is absolute, like, there's for sure stuff you're gonna be like, what? By if you watch this and you haven't played any of the other, played any of the actual games. And also, if you watch this and you're like, I kind of want to play those games, but I don't want to spend money, a couple of them are still free. Go to Steam and you can find, let's see, I think by now it's 3? Don't hold me to that, but there's, I believe it's more than 1 right now. And don't be, fooled by the fact that they're free. They're not bad. It's not like, we got you hooked now. No, those are some of the best ones, actually. Anyway, yeah. It's definitely, if you haven't, if this is also the first video of mine you watch, I'll just say there's definitely a debt owed to David Lynch, R.I.P. And yeah, if you like David Lynch, you might like, this short film. And if you like the short film and solving puzzles, yeah, you may also really enjoy the games. And again, a non-zero number of them are free. You can try out and just, you won't have lost anything but time if one of the free ones just isn't quite your thing. And apparently the people who worked on this short film did actually play the games. And, IMDb trivia notes, thankfully the developers were there to provide hints, which, yeah, I felt that. I think, yeah, let's talk about, so yeah, the setup, it is one of those things, like sometimes a video game setup will not work as well for, a non-interactive piece of media. Sometimes it's like, oh, I really want to do that, but if it was like a short film or movie or show, you'd be like, I don't really want to watch that though. I want to be the one doing it, But yeah, here, like, yeah, dude wakes up in a room, wants to get out. Yeah, like that is something we want to watch in addition to play. And yeah, the psychological accuracy is quite good. There's something where, now that we can see his face, Dale's reactions are much more on display than, also because the style of the video games is this like pastel kind of, what's the word, like kind of banal, and I don't say that as criticism, that is purposeful. But yeah, there's not, we can't always get a like detailed read on how someone is feeling, and that works for the games. It wouldn't work for this here. Like, no, like this actor does a fantastic job. Like you see his face and it's like, ugh, some of the stuff that's not a spoiler. These are, Rusty Lake, there's always going to be something really nasty that, yeah. And I think that does, yeah, the level of detail is quite good for something that, without end credits, this is like 17 minutes, so they pack in a lot without making it feel rushed. And yeah, the tone absolutely nails that of the games. I think I have by now done as much of that as I think I'm going to do in this video to really convey it, you know. Um, and there is some dialogue, and also just at times Dale will say something out loud to clarify where he stands on something. They do a good job on the writing and delivery of that. Yeah, the direction is solid. I was always like, you know, there were times where I was like, oh, Dale, don't do it. But I was never like, why is he doing what he's doing right now? I always understood, which, like, you know, there are times in the games where you barely understand exactly what is, but that just isn't going to apply for a short film. You know, in the game, if there's something you don't quite understand, it can be intriguing. It means you're gonna like, okay, I gotta figure this out so I can, you know, I want to proceed through the game, and then you see something else that doesn't make sense, and you're like, okay, I guess I gotta play the next game to find out. You know, that works really well. It just wouldn't work for this short film. That's also a thing. So I found this very satisfying to watch. I can't rule out some might find it frustrating, especially if, yeah, if you watch this and you don't know that it has anything to do with video games, there is at least one thing in this that where you might be like, what was that? Like, you know, you might feel like it's maybe incomplete or something, but, you know, it was made in part, you know, one of the things it accomplished clearly with, you know, what was it, 7.6 million views. One of the things was to really make people aware of the games and to serve as just something fun if you've played at least some of the games. And yeah, it essentially serves as a middle chapter to Cube Escape Paradox. You know, yeah, if this had, you know, you might almost call this Cube Escape Paradox chapter 1.5, you know? And yeah, it is definitely meant to get you interested in the games and or feel rewarding if you've played at least one of them. And yeah, you know, I appreciate, you know, there's a lot of short films that are not meant to do that, and if you're used to watching those, and a lot of those are amazing, I'm not dissing them, yeah, this might feel frustrating. But, you know, keep in mind, you know, if you play this and you're like, I want to play the games, you know, at least some of them, I'm not sure if it's all, at least some of them are available on smartphone devices, you know, so, yeah, I guess maybe also other devices. I play them on PC, but, you know, I am aware that at least some of them are also available for smartphones, so you don't need a powerful PC to be able to play these or anything. You don't even need to know how to run a mouse to play a video game, to, you know, just touch screen. Anyway, yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job on the atmosphere here. And that's, again, one of the biggest strengths of the games is the atmosphere. And again, like, at some point, I hope whoever realized they got a raise, at some point someone working on these games realized this atmosphere could work really well in, like, a short film also. You know, it doesn't have to, again, like, let's see. I think, no, it's too long a list to go over every single game that I guess one of the biggest ones, I don't, I haven't been keeping up enough. I haven't watched that. Right, I mentioned earlier that I haven't watched a good video game movie. I should note a bunch of the most recent ones I have not watched. The most recent one I watched that was, like, official was Assassin's Creed, which, you know, what was that, like 9 years ago or something, you know? And I know some people absolutely love the most recent, not necessarily the original, Super Mario Brothers movie. I did watch the original. And I've heard, and yeah, there are people who absolutely love the 3 Sonic movies, So I don't know. Maybe those are amazing. I mean, I can't rule out at some point watching those movies. It's just I'm not that familiar with. I've played some of the oldest of the games, like I guess it's the first three of both of those franchises, I think. And by the time they started making movies, there have been so many games and other media. Yeah, like I did play that Sonic game, that Sonic and the Black Knight, and there were like so many characters in there that was like, who are any of these people? Because I hadn't played the ones leading up to it. So anyway, we're gonna move on. Yeah, the atmosphere is done really, really well, and that is also, now that the gameplay element is gone, the atmosphere and the mystery are the things that really work for this, because yeah, we don't have the fact that it's the player solving puzzles. There is puzzle solving, and I think they did a good. I won't say if it's a lot or a little. I thought it was an appropriate amount. That was some. I will say, I was a little worried. This was. I really want to note. This was made by filmmakers. This was not made by developers who barely knew what they were doing. Like, I know my references are super dated, but if anybody else happens to remember when was it Westwood or was it EA? It was some yeah, they made Command and Conquer Renegade, a first-person shooter, and I can never remember if I looked it up or not, but what I'll say is that felt like a game developed, at least in part, by people who were used to making real-time strategy, not first-person shooter, and a lot of the awkwardness of that game, which I found it's fun to play. I enjoyed it tremendously. My review is forthcoming, and it will be at least partially positive, but yeah, it felt like, maybe you should have outsourced this. Maybe you should have had somebody else, make this and just like, yeah, what was it called? Like license, I think that could have worked because it is a cool idea. I remember, when we played, way back in the 90s when we played the Command and Conquer, real-time strategy games, and we're like, oh, this would be super cool as a first-person shooter, and then we got it, and it was like, I mean, I see what they were going for, and some of the way they got there, but some of it just didn't work. This does not feel anything like that. This feels like I wonder how many people watched this and had no idea it had anything to do with a video game. Like, because it doesn't, like, come right out and say, oh, video game. Um, I think that might cover, yeah. Um, yes, I think I will note. So I mentioned that there's mystery here. That is definitely a thing. If you're unfamiliar with Rusty Lake, you're not going to get, like, a huge amount of answers to mysteries in this short film. There are answers in some of the games, and that's, again, like, by the time this was made, there were over a dozen different games in the Rusty Lake franchise. Or was it exactly a dozen? It was somewhere around there, and yeah, that of course means that if they just tell you everything immediately, it's gonna get unwieldy, like, so they kind of had to have a bunch, I mean, I think, yeah, it's been a minute since I, criticized the Assassin's Creed game series. I think those started getting unwieldy fairly early on. There's definitely some mysteries there that you don't get that many answers to for several games, but then there's also stuff where you just get a ton of information, and it seems like you're supposed to remember all of that information across multiple games, and that's just part of that is, and I absolutely acknowledge that, those are much longer games. I think the first of those games probably took me longer on initial playthrough than all of the Rusty Lake games that I've played so far combined, so obviously there is that, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the cinematography, I knew I was gonna love this when it opened. This is not a spoiler because we already, when it opened with Dale not just waking up, but like, he does the cliche thing of like sitting up suddenly in bed, wake up, which fair enough, this is a messed up situation that he's finding himself in, so, but he sits up into frame, like you can't see immediately that that's gonna happen, but I was sitting there thinking, are they gonna do the Raimi thing of having something move into frame instead of just, yeah, yeah. Uh, and that is also, I mean, in some ways, there is some, like, not, like, full-on Evil Dead vibes here, because, like, it doesn't, some of the stuff in those movies, not present here, but, yeah, this thing of, like, being in this small, confined space and, messed up stuff that you don't understand is happening. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to go there for some inspiration. And there's this bit where he's looking around the room, and they do the way that the camera moves, the camera move somewhat emulates the way it looks when you play. Yeah, absolutely love that. And yeah, through and through, the cinematography is excellent. There's at least one in-camera trick that I adored. And the editing is also great. There's some parts where, it does that thing that a lot of media like this will do, where, like, at first, it lets stuff breathe a little bit. We're just kind of adjusting. It appreciates, hey, let the audience adjust to, because this is a weird situation to be finding ourselves in. You can't just, like, you don't have to so much let something breathe if, let's say you have a scene of someone getting off from work and they're walking home, okay, that's fine. We all know, not everybody has experienced that, but then you've probably talked to someone who has experienced that. That's, mundane. But waking up in a room and, there's like blood on his forehead and he's like, where am I? Okay, let that sink in. Crap. Did Musk ruin that joke? I hope not. That's a funny joke. That I didn't even make just now, so I guess I don't have anything to worry about. But yeah. After, we've gotten a little bit more used to it, it starts moving at least a little faster. I didn't think it ever moved too fast, but, after a little bit, it's also like, okay, you've accepted that you're in this room and you got to find a way out. Try to find a way out, so yeah. And I think that brings us to the production value is really solid. The set design, they did it. They actually went ahead and recreated the room from Cube Escape Paradox. I love it. It's amazing. And seeing it in live action, and they, in part because of like music and camera angles and just letting us really sit with it. Yeah, some of the things that it was creepy in the, art style of the games, but seeing it in live action hits different. Like, holy, even if you think, I'm adjusted to it by now, don't miss out on this. Like, actually sit down and watch it, and you'll appreciate it in a whole new way. Yeah, costumes and makeup also do a really solid job. And again, recreate and yeah, they cast someone who does look like Dale. And I think that does, yeah, the music, there is this ominous foreboding thing. It's not like hitting us over the head with how intense something is, but it is building up, underlining the visuals that are also, disturbing. That is also one thing I will definitely say, and I don't think they could have done it different because of the, you know, it being a short film, and also just how seeing something in live action hits different from seeing it in something that, when you play the games, you never mistake them for reality. The art style would go, yeah, would prevent that, even if you tried. And I don't know why you would. But this does not have as much of, stuff in this tends to be disturbing and like stuff that's like kind of gross or somewhat upsetting to see and hear, but it's not, it doesn't go anywhere near as far as even early of the games, and yeah, like I said, I don't think that's a bad thing for it. If they do at some point make an actual ongoing series, I think they probably will go further in that. Um, the sound design is fantastic, and I really love that some of the things in this short film sound exactly the way they do in the game. So that was, yeah, chef's kiss. Um, so the let's see. Yeah, it was really nice seeing more like, I accept, I don't think it's bad for the games that a lot of the time the characters don't have the biggest of reactions, and again, part of it is the art style doesn't really, you know, how much can you show of like reaction with that, but yeah, it was really great seeing, somewhat more here with the yeah, and the acting is great. Um, yeah, so the effects, I love that they tend to go for like in camera practical effects rather than like visual effects. And I think that was very wise. Um, and it is also one of those things where you just don't really need, these are games where you don't necessarily need like visual effects, especially considering what this shows. Um, yeah, I think, let's see. The yeah, I guess I don't want to give that away. But yeah, I think that does pretty well. Yeah, so the as like horror and sort of sci-fi slash fantasy, yeah, works really well. Delivers um, at least some of the things that we really want from that. And I guess I've already talked about feeling that the amount of like actual like stuff that goes beyond being disturbing to look at into, like, yeah, outright R-rated territory. I felt that it was the right amount. Yeah, I thought they made some really smart decisions in how they handled that. It was very much just, yeah. I think that might cover. Yeah. Uh, let's see. I feel like there's something else that I really wanted to say. There was a thing or two that popped up in this that I was not expecting, but I was happy to see. I thought it worked really well. I think that might cover everything. Yeah. Just the hmm. Yeah. Yes, one more thing. Columbo over here. R.I.P. Peter Falk. The they have one specific element in here that worked incredibly well And it's like, it's this thing of like, essentially it's a fairly simple, small thing, but it really, really works. And I'm not sure I want to give it away, because then, you might really notice it and expect something from it. But yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Yeah, they made a incredibly smart decision there, and I really applaud them for actually making. Yeah, that was so. Yeah, um, yeah. I rate this 8 small tastes that definitely have you, looking to play the games out of 10.